I'll do. Got something a little bit different here from what we've been talking about the last couple of days. Something a bit more ubiquitous to. Sorry about that, itchy mark. Something a bit more ubiquitous to all of us in society and not about any particular community. Um, I'll, as always, I'll put the link below. This is from MSN.com, the MSN News. If you can, obviously go visit them. They've got their adverts on there. Gives them a little bit of traffic on the site. They've obviously put this content out for us. Least we can do is reciprocate by giving them a little bit of proverbial footfall for their advertising revenue. I'm not sponsored in any way, shape or form by them, so I don't gain anything from that, but it's just a bit of a courtesy for that. Anyway, now we've got that over and done with, let's crack on. So the UK faces food shortages and price rises into 2024 due to the Panama Canal drought. Well, price rises at this point is par for the course, isn't it? Let's be honest, that was always going to be something that's going to keep happening to us. So let's not kid ourselves that wasn't to be expected. As for food shortages, well, this is what happens when we have record migration onto a small island. Now I think it's around 68 million. They reckon there is in the UK, give or take a million, I suppose. I think it's a lot more than that when you look at illegal migration and stuff. But that's the official figure according to the census. But if you don't want people to know you're here, why would you fill out the census? You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it were closer to 80. But anyway, that's by the by. Now, I'll try and find this article again online. I can't remember where I saw it, but I do distinctly remember reading about agriculture and the amount of land that's required. And something that sticks in my mind is that the UK as an island or archipelago of islands can, if you look at hunter-gathering, can sustain about 3 million people. Not a lot, but that's just obviously going off wild produce and you know, getting what you can survive on. Now, agriculture, I think it's something around 10 million for medieval style, 10 to 15 million, and about, I believe, 20 to 30 million, I think it is, with modern agricultural techniques. That's still nowhere near, obviously, what is living on the island right now. However, that would mean that if we were not so heavily populated, that would mean there's a lot more free land for farming purposes, requiring a lot less people, a lot less food to be imported, meaning food shortages and price rises would not be so much of an issue. Now, personally, I think this is a national security issue, not just a feeding issue, as we saw during World War II, where we were having to ship everything in from around the world, and it was a obvious target for U-boat attacks from the mid-century Germans. Sorry about that. Well, not just that. It's another one for me, going off topic a bit, is same with steel. We should every serious country should produce their own steel, simply so you're not beholden to the markets of foreign powers like China as an example. Let's say hypothetically China just push every country out of the market of steel, so they're reasonably the only kid on the block who's producing steel. Once that happens, what's them to stop them trebling the price of steel, quadrupling the price, you know, etc., etc. It can become a very, very serious issue, and you're also running the risk as well of lower quality produce being sent to you, and there's not really much you can do about that if you've lost your ability to manufacture your own, have you? And the same with food. You know, what's to stop countries charging us an arm and a leg for food, because at the end of the day, a population can't survive without food. Anyway, I've rambled on a little bit too long there. I'll crack on. So, British consumers are facing shortages and price rises for fruit, vegetables and other fresh produce into the new year due to the worsening drought on the Panama Canal. So this is going to be things that we, I imagine, get from, say, China, Australia, New Zealand, Peru, places like that. California, oranges maybe, you know, that sort of stuff. But saying that, with the Americans, they can freight stuff across. But can they? It's fruit, it's perishable goods. Can they send it across on the train? I don't know. I genuinely don't know the answer to that. But I think it's more to do with, like I say, possibly South American countries, Australia, you know, Thailand, places like Vietnam, stuff that we get from those places. Falling water levels on the vital trade route between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans have led to a drastic reduction in the number of vessels able to pass through the canal, with dozens of ships queuing for weeks to secure a passage. The delays, which will see the number of daily transits fall to half of normal pre-drought levels by February, have already led to warnings that Christmas goods from iPhones to exercise bikes and tree lights are set to fail to reach retailers in time for the festive season. Well, that's exactly what I said, which is that all that's coming from China, basically. Cheap tat and manufactured items, electronic manufactured items. But import and retail experts are now warning of problems with supplies of perishable goods for supermarkets and other food stores as Britain and other European countries turn to South and Central America to maintain supplies of fresh produce from asparagus to mangoes during the winter months. Well, this is the issue with relying on foreign countries and having such huge immigration. I mean, this last year alone, we've had in the UK more than 1.5 million, about 1 million and nearly 3/4 of people turned up. Now that's gross. Net is about, last year was 740,000, I think it was net. This amount of immigration that we've had over the last 20, 30 years, it does number in the multiple millions, and it's completely unsustainable. I believe 1 in 6 people in the UK now is believed to be born overseas. To give you a sort of idea, so one in 6, that's 10 million people in the UK. 10 million people that in theory we could do without, because when you look at things like the NHS and manufacturing and all the other sectors, people who are born in this country are proportionally more represented than migrants. So we could, in theory, get rid of all migrants, and on paper at least, we would actually be better off, because we'd have a surplus of people in those places than what we currently have at the moment. I'm not saying that would fix the entire problem, but we do have a naturally ageing population at the moment anyway, and a shrinking population is nothing new for the UK. You know, up until the early 80s, the UK population year on year was reducing. We had less migration than emigration. Analysts have warned that countries such as Peru face difficulties in maintaining supplies if ships carrying refrigerated containers of fruit, vegetables and other goods such as coffee and meat are subjected to excessive delays or diverted via longer shipping routes. Canned goods is the solution to that. Start canning things and jarring things. All right, it's not fresh, but canned food is better than no food. That's the entire article. There's a little bit there saying that at the bottom it says it's understood by I, so I'm guessing that this article's been ripped from I, that several major retailers are closely monitoring the situation concerning fresh produce supplies through the Panama Canal. We've got more. Perishable goods from Peru worth 22 million, including fruit with a value of 18 million, which are normally scheduled to arrive in Britain for Christmas, could be caught up in the Panama Canal restrictions, leading to potential shortages or reductions in supplies for UK retailers, according to Russell Group, a London-based shipping data analysis company. Peru sends goods worth 2 billion a year to the UK, including more than 350 million of fresh produce ranging from prawns and mangoes to coffee, tea and cocoa. And that's it really. That is it. There is a bit more going down, but it's related articles underneath it. As I say, I do think it's a bit of a shorter video, this one, just a bit of change of pace as well. I do think it's a national security risk, what's happening. Not just the amount of people in the country, but obviously having to rely so much on imports in a globalised world. And the thing with globalisation is it only works when the world is working. And as we're seeing at the moment with Ukraine and in Israel, Gaza, China could be looking at Taiwan in the not too distant future. You know, the Middle East is always potentially going to erupt. I mean, I would say Africa's always fighting, but let's be honest, Africa fighting doesn't really affect the wider world, sadly for those people. Although it could end up with a lot of migrants coming to Europe and America, and destabilising us. And that's a topic for another time. But my short opinion on that is that is a type of fourth generational warfare that is being waged upon us, is using supposed refugees and migrants to destabilise Western nations. At least from how I'm seeing it, and not solely. I do believe there's multiple facets to that, but I believe that's a significant part of it. Anyway, thanks for now. If you found that informative and interesting, please like, subscribe, give us a comment below as well. It all helps with the algorithm for getting these videos out to other people. Hopefully we can build a bit more of a bigger community where we can get a bit more of a discussion going on these, what I think are important topics that seem to get either ignored or they only get discussed from a politically correct point of view, which only allows the things to worsen. Anyway, I'm rambling again. I'll get going. Bye bye.